Not with words, not with anger, but with silence, with absence, with hesitation. You felt it before you could name it a shift. The warmth you used to count on turned into distance. And in that moment, your mind started racing. Are they losing interest? Did I do something wrong? Are they walking away from this? For me, the instinct to panic is strong. To reach out, to chase, to try harder, say more, be more, just to make the connection feel safe again. But before you surrender to that fear, take a breath, because what if this isn't rejection? What if the withdrawal you're feeling is not the closing of a door, but the beginning of something deeper, a hidden signal, a silent scream from someone who doesn't yet know how to love out loud? Because this isn't about you being unworthy. It's not about something being wrong. It's about the invisible battle happening inside someone who's terrified of what you represent, intimacy. You see, some people don't run from you. They run from what you awaken in them. They run from feelings they can't name, but can't control, can't understand, because they were never taught how. They were never given the space to feel safe in closeness. So when they begin to care, when it gets real, they retreat. Not to punish you, but to protect the part of themselves that still believes love is dangerous. The avoidant doesn't say, I love you, the way you expect. They say it by pulling away and hoping you'll still stay steady. They say it by going quiet when their emotions get too loud. They say it through tension, through walls, through pauses, not because they don't care, but because caring deeply feels like a threat to everything they've built to survive. And here's what most people miss. Their silence is not the absence of love. It's love trying to survive its own fear. If you look at that distance and see abandonment, you'll feel panic. You'll personalize their fear and make it mean something about your worth. But if you look closer, if you look past the surface and into the shadows of their patterns, you'll begin to see what's really happening. You'll see a person caught in a lifelong tug of war between connection and protection. A person who longs for closeness, but has only ever felt safe in distance. Someone who might love you more than they can say, but fear that loving you will cost them their identity, their control, or even their sense of safety. And that fear is loud. So when they pull back, don't panic. Pause. Don't rush in to fix what was never broken. Don't chase the echo of validation in someone who's still learning how to let love in. This moment, this space they've created, isn't just about them. It's about you too. Who do you become when love feels uncertain? Do you collapse into old patterns of self-abandonment, or do you rise into the truth of your worth, holding your ground even when someone else loses theirs? Because the truth is this: you are not here to interpret someone else's fear as your failure. You are not here to translate their retreat as a reason to doubt your value. You are here to see clearly, to recognize that some people pull back not because they don't love you, but because they do, and that terrifies them more than being alone ever did. This is how avoidants say, I love you, with hesitation, with walls. With careful distance, they secretly hope you'll understand, not by solving their wounds, not by waiting forever, but by being someone who doesn't mistake their fear for your flaw. When you feel that pullback, yes, it will hurt, but don't run from the discomfort. Use it. Let it wake something up in you, strength, discern awareness. Because when you learn to hold steady in the face of someone else's fear, you stop giving your power away to people who are still finding theirs. And this is where everything changes. This is where your story transforms from one of chasing love into one of embodying it. Not just for others, but for yourself. So next time the distance comes, next time the avoidant pulls back, don't panic. Pause, see them, see yourself. And know this: sometimes the people who pull away the hardest are the ones praying silently that someone will stay long enough not to fix them, but to understand them. That's not your burden, but it is your invitation to rise, to hold your ground, to choose peace over panic, and to finally learn the truth. That real love doesn't always come dressed in warmth. Sometimes it shows up cold, afraid, and quiet, but just as real. You want to know why they pull away? Why they suddenly go quiet when things start to feel real? Why they smile with one foot out the door? Why their touch fades just when you think you're getting close? It's not because they don't feel. It's because they feel too much, but were never taught what to do with it. And long before you ever stepped into their life, there was a story already being written. A story shaped not by love, but by survival. You see, avoidants carry a one. A deep, buried one they've learned to live with so skillfully that even they can't always see it. They become masters of emotional camouflage, appearing calm on the outside while storming on the inside. They learned early that connection came at a cost. That love was inconsistent, unpredictable, sometimes even painful. Maybe they had to earn attention. Maybe their vulnerability was met with judgment. Maybe the people they needed most were emotionally absent or present in body, but not in soul. So they stopped reaching out. They stopped trusting closeness. They stopped believing that being seen fully was safe. Not because they wanted to shut down, but because shutting down was the only way to survive. So when someone today offers them real intimacy, something genuine, raw, safe, they don't know what to do with it. It contradicts everything they were wired to believe. That closeness is dangerous. That attachment leads to disappointment. That needing someone makes you weak, or worse, makes you vulnerable to being hurt again. And now you're here, trying to love them, trying to reach them, trying to understand why every step forward seems to trigger 2 steps back. It's because they're fighting a ghost, not you. They're not retreating because of something you did. They're retreating because every fiber of their nervous system is whispering, this is too close and closeness leads to pain. They might not say it. They might not even realize it. But underneath their calm is chaos. Underneath their cool is fear. And underneath their distance is a longing so profound, they don't know whether to embrace it or run from it. You see, the avoidant isn't cold. They're scared. Scared that love will require them to be someone they're not ready to be. Scared that letting you in means losing themselves. Scared that one day you'll wake up, see the mess they've been hiding, and leave. So they leave first. Emotionally, mentally, just enough to regain control, just enough to feel like they're safe again. But safety isn't freedom when it costs you connection. And deep down, they know that. They just don't know how to unlearn the survival patterns that once saved them, but now sabotage every real relationship they try to build. This is the one they never show you. Because admitting they're afraid means exposing the very thing they're trying to keep buried. So instead, they hide it behind logic. They intellectualize their emotions. They detach. They avoid. They convince themselves, and sometimes even you, that they're better off alone. But alone is just a shield, a mask, a place where no one can touch them and no one can truly see them. You might feel like you're being shut out. You might feel like your love is being wasted. But don't confuse distance with disinterest. Sometimes the more someone cares, the harder it is for them to stay close. Because staying close means risking the one thing they've spent their whole life avoiding, being hurt again. This doesn't mean you should tolerate emotional neglect. This doesn't mean you sacrifice yourself for their healing. You are not their therapist. You are not their savior. But you are someone who sees the truth. And in a world that keeps telling them to run, that truth is powerful. Here's the truth: they're not broken. They're not incapable of love. They're injured. And injury heals through space awareness and the right kind of presence, not pressure. But healing is their responsibility, not yours. What you are responsible for is how you show up, how you honor your own heart while holding compassion for theirs, how you stop blaming yourself for their walls, how you stop personalizing their panic, and how you begin to realize that the wound they never show you is not something for you to fix, but something for you to understand. You cannot carry their pain, but you can choose to stop carrying the weight of misunderstanding it. Because the moment you realize their behavior is a reflection of their past, not your value, you step into your power. You stop reacting, you start responding, and from that space, only from that space, can you love wisely, clearly, and without abandoning yourself in the process. Their wound is real, but so is your worth. Love isn't always loud. It isn't always poetic, and it doesn't always arrive in the ways you were taught to recognize. Sometimes love is quiet, uncomfortable, awkward. Sometimes it's hidden beneath silence, woven into actions that don't look like affection, wrapped in the language of distance rather than devotion. That's the paradox of the avoidant heart. Because when you love someone who's afraid of intimacy, you have to understand they are not speaking the same language. They are not offering love the way you expect. They are offering it the only way they know how. Through cautious gestures, through presence that feels distant, through effort that doesn't always make sense on the surface. To the world, it looks like they don't care. The untrained heart looks like inconsistency. But to the one who sees clearly, it's obvious this is someone loving from behind their armor. And no, it isn't the love you may have dreamed of. It may not come with grand declarations or emotional outpourings, but it's love still, just shaped by fear instead of freedom. You might be looking for connection in words. They're trying to show it in survival mode actions. You might want vulnerability. They're trying to protect themselves from the chaos that vulnerability once caused. You want closeness. They're calculating how much of themselves they can safely share before it feels like drowning. But here's what you must understand. Avoidants do love deeply. They just love differently. They love in ways that feel safe to them. They love through control, through restraint, through calculated care. They don't flood you with emotion, not because they don't feel it, but because emotion to them is a force they fear losing themselves in. So they give you what they can. They show up in the ways they know how. Maybe it's in small favors. Maybe it's in subtle check-ins. Maybe it's in just staying when their instincts scream to run. It's not the love of fairy tales. It's not cinematic, but it's real, raw, and honest in a way that only makes sense when you realize where it comes from, a place of learned self-protection. And this is the challenge, because if you're expecting love to look a certain way, to sound a certain way, you'll miss it. You'll miss the hand extended in hesitation. You'll miss the effort behind the detachment. You'll miss the courage it takes for someone who's never felt safe in closeness to even try staying. Their "I love you" might not be spoken. It might be quiet loyalty. It might be a random act of service. It might be the fact that, though they seem emotionally distant, they haven't walked away. Don't misunderstand that. To someone with an avoidant heart, staying when things get emotionally intense is an act of love so big, so terrifying, it feels like free fall. Their love doesn't pour. It leaks out in moments they don't always control. And when it does, it's easy to overlook if you're not paying attention. You have to decide something powerful here. Are you trying to receive love in a specific form? Or are you open to seeing love as it truly is, even when it doesn't come dressed the way you expected? This doesn't mean you abandon your needs. It doesn't mean you accept scraps or excuse emotional neglect. But it does mean that you learn to recognize intention beneath imperfection. It means that you stop measuring love solely by expression and start seeing the quiet resilience of connection trying to survive fear. And that clarity, that shift in perception, that's where your strength lies. You stop reacting to the symptoms and start understanding the root. You stop internalizing their pauses and start reading between the lines. You stop demanding fluency in your love language and start decoding theirs without losing yourself in the process. That balance is everything. Because while they're trying to love behind their walls, you have a choice to meet them with grounded compassion or to walk away from something you never fully understood. Neither choice is wrong, but let it be a conscious one. Understand this love that comes wrapped in fear is still love, just unrefined. It needs space, not force. Patience, not pressure. Boundaries, not abandonment. And above all, it needs your clarity so you don't mistake their unfamiliar language for absence of feeling. You are not here to carry their silence, but you are here to hear it clearly enough to decide, do I have the capacity to love someone still learning how to love? Can I stand in my worth while they struggle with theirs? Can I receive what they offer without begging for more than they can give? Their love might be hidden, but if you listen closely, it's there. It's in their effort. It's in their fight to stay when everything in them screams to run. It's in the way they inch towards you, even if they don't know how to stand beside you yet. And if you can recognize that, then you're not just hearing their language. You're translating it. And that changes everything. There comes a moment in every connection where you face a decision. A moment where the distance becomes too loud, the silence too long, the pullback too familiar. And your instinct is to chase, to explain, to prove, to fix, to shrink yourself into something easier to love. But you weren't born to chase. You weren't created to dilute yourself just to keep someone else comfortable. And no matter how much you care for someone who fears closeness, you cannot abandon yourself in the process of trying to hold them. Chasing isn't connection. It's self-abandonment dressed in desperation. It's the illusion that if you just say the right thing, do the right thing, become the right version, they'll finally stay. But that version of love, it's built on fear, not truth. And here's the truth. If someone is emotionally unavailable, distant, or retreating, it is not your job to close that gap with your worthiness. It is not your responsibility to chase clarity from someone who hasn't found it within themselves. Because every time you pursue someone who's pulling away, every time you beg to be understood by someone still hiding from their own heart, every time you lose sleep over their silence, you are sending a message to your nervous system that says, their inconsistency matters more than my stability. And that's not love. That's a trauma loop. That's your old wound trying to create itself in the hope of finally being chosen. But listen closely, you don't break those patterns by doing more. You break them by doing less, by standing still, strong, certain, not to punish them, not to manipulate them, but to honor yourself. Because chasing teaches someone this. They can retreat and you will follow. They can withhold and you will work harder. They can run and you will abandon your own peace to close the distance. And that's a dangerous pattern, one that erodes your self-trust more with every step. When someone pulls back, it's not always about you. Sometimes it's their trauma. Sometimes it's their deep, unspoken belief that love isn't safe and closeness equals threat. But you don't have to mirror that fear. You don't have to respond to their emotional disconnection with panic, because your power isn't in how quickly you can fix their discomfort. Your power is in how fully you can remain rooted in yours. Stand. Let them pull away. Let them face their own patterns. Let them sit in the space they've created. Because true love doesn't beg. It doesn't prove. It doesn't chase validation in the shape of another human being. True love knows itself first. And when you know yourself, deeply, truly, unapologetically, you no longer fear someone else's hesitation. You see it clearly. You don't take it personally. You don't collapse to earn crumbs of closeness. You hold. You stop texting to fix the silence. You stop explaining your worth like it's up for negotiation. You stop trying to drag someone into a relationship they're still too afraid to be fully present in. Because love is not about force. It's about energy. And when your energy is strong, clear, grounded, you draw people toward you who are ready to meet you there. Yes, the avoidant may be in pain. Yes, they may be scared. But if they can't meet you halfway, if they can't take off their armor even for a moment, then chasing them doesn't help. It only teaches you to silence your own needs for the sake of someone else's fear. This is your turning point. Do you continue bending, breaking, and burning out to make someone feel safe in your presence? Or do you stand not in resentment, not in punishment, but in deep, unwavering self-respect? Because the second you stop chasing, everything shifts. You give them space to confront themselves. You give yourself space to breathe. You send a clear message to the universe. I am done running after what won't meet me in my fullness. I am done begging for permission to be loved. I am done shrinking. And here's the most powerful truth of all. If they can't meet you in that space, if they never learn to show up, open up, or stay, then they were never ready for your kind of love to begin with. That's not your failure. That's your freedom. So stop chasing. Stop proving. Stop reaching so far out of yourself that you forget what it feels like to be held by you and start standing in clarity and peace, in unshakable, grounded, non-reactive power. The right people won't fear your stillness. They'll rise to meet it because the love you deserve isn't the one you fight to earn. It's the one that stands beside you without fear because it finally feels safe to stay. You felt the confusion, the ache of inconsistency, the sting of mixed signals that whisper, I want you, only to echo with silence moments later. And in the midst of it all, you asked yourself, is it real? Or is it just a cycle I've become addicted to? The truth is there's power in understanding, not for their sake, but for yours. Because once you understand someone's emotional behavior, it stops controlling you. Once you see the pattern, you no longer get trapped in it. You begin to transform, not through anger, not through blame, but through clarity. Understanding is what breaks the loop. Understanding is what turns pain into perspective. And understanding begins with this. You cannot fix someone else's fear. You can only stop making it your responsibility. Yes, avoidants pull back. Yes, they create distance when emotions rise. But that distance isn't always a rejection. Sometimes it's regulation. Sometimes it's the only way they know to feel in control when love begins to threaten their survival instincts. But here's the line you must draw with sharp clarity. Understanding them doesn't mean abandoning you. Understanding them doesn't mean staying in cycles that exhaust your soul. Understanding them doesn't mean accepting breadcrumbs and calling it devotion. It means seeing the truth so clearly that you finally get to choose from a place of power, not desperation. Because here's what real transformation looks like. It's when you stop internalizing their fear. It's when you stop making their struggle your identity. It's when you stop thinking that if you were just a little more patient, a little more calm, a little more forgiving, they'd finally stay. You start to realize their growth is their choice and your peace is your responsibility. Transformation is when you stop chasing closure from people who are still trying to understand their own hearts. It's when you hold space for someone's journey, but not at the cost of your boundaries. It's when you stop waiting for someone else to see your worth and start embodying it without needing their permission. Because let's be honest, some people won't choose to heal. Some will stay in their loops. Some will run from every real connection every time it gets too close. And you know what? That's not your failure. It's not your invitation to try harder. It's your opportunity to let go. Let go of the illusion that your love alone can save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Let go of the fantasy that if you just hold on longer, they'll finally turn around. Let go of the belief that staying loyal to someone's potential is the same as being loved in the present. You deserve more than love that only comes halfway. You deserve more than emotional breadcrumbs dropped between withdrawals. You deserve a love that doesn't require you to translate pain into meaning. And if they're not ready for that, then the most loving thing you can do for both of you is to stop carrying what was never yours to hold. You can hold compassion without becoming their crutch. You can see their wounds without trying to heal them yourself. You can love someone deeply and still walk away when it begins to cost you your joy, your clarity, your self-respect. That is not cruelty. That is wisdom. That is transformation. Because the old you, the one who would have stayed, chased, explained, waited, that version is no longer in control. That version learned how to love without self-sacrifice. That version learned the difference between being strong for someone and being strong for yourself. This isn't about being cold. It's not about cutting people off at the first sign of discomfort. It's about choosing discernment over desperation. It's about realizing that not every soul who enters your life is meant to stay. Some are here to awaken you, to teach you, to show you the parts of yourself still hungry for love in all the wrong places. And once you see that, once you understand the why behind the withdrawal, the fear behind the silence, the patterns behind the pullback, you are free. Free to choose connection that doesn't come with confusion. Free to walk toward love that feels expansive, not conditional. Free to hold yourself so powerfully that anyone who cannot meet you in that wholeness simply fades out of resonance. That's transformation, not healing them. Healing you, you are no longer waiting to be chosen. You are no longer reaching for someone who keeps stepping back. You are no longer a hostage to someone else's fear of intimacy. You understand it. You bless it. And then you move forward, not from bitterness, not from regret, but from a soul that has finally remembered its value. You can love someone and let them go. You can understand their pain and still prioritize your peace. You can offer grace without offering yourself as a sacrifice. That's not weakness. That's maturity. That's transformation. There is a moment right now where everything can change. Not for them, not for the story you've been replaying in your mind, but for you. Because this entire journey was never just about understanding the avoidant. It was about remembering yourself. You've tried. You've waited. You've shown up with an open heart and a willingness to go deeper than most ever will. But the truth is you don't need to keep sacrificing your peace to prove your love. You don't need to keep decoding distance or translating silence to find your worth. You've done enough. Now is the moment you stop surviving love and start rising through it. You are not here to bend for people who break at the sight of intimacy. You are not here to chase hearts that only know how to run. You are not here to convince someone that you're safe, stable, worthy, or enough, because you already are. And it's time you started living like it. Let them pull back. Let them retreat into their silence. Let them wrestle with the ghosts they haven't named yet. That's their path, their choice, their timeline. But yours is to stand rooted. Yours is to rise. Yours is to lead yourself out of the emotional waiting room you've been sitting in, hoping someone else will finally be ready. No more waiting. No more hoping they'll change while you slowly lose yourself trying to hold the connection together. No more mistaking emotional avoidance for depth. No more glorifying someone's wounds while ignoring your own bleeding heart. You deserve love that doesn't shrink from you. You deserve presence that stays. You deserve someone who doesn't just want you when it's convenient, but someone who meets you fully in the hard moments too. And if that person is not them, then so be it. Let them go, not in anger, not in blame, but in clarity. Because the second you stop making yourself smaller to accommodate someone else's fear, it is the second you step into your own power. And here's what that power looks like. It looks like boundaries that don't bend. It looks like peace that doesn't shake when someone else disconnects. It looks like loving without losing yourself. It looks like walking away, not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring about yourself more. Let that sink in. You spent so long trying to be understood, trying to hold it all together, trying to make love feel safe for someone else. Now it's time to make love feel safe for you. That means honoring your instincts. That means listening to your body when it says, because dynamic is draining me. That means trusting that walking away from something inconsistent isn't failure, it's alignment. And make no mistake, when you stop chasing, stop fixing, stop shrinking, you don't lose anything that was truly meant for you. You only lose what was feeding off your doubt, because the love that's meant for you, it won't run when things get real. It won't punish you with silence. It won't leave you questioning your value in the middle of the night. It will rise to meet you. It will stand beside you. It will speak your name with certainty, not hesitation. And most importantly, it will feel like home, not like a test you keep failing. So now this is your call. This is the moment you step forward. This is the moment you stop chasing emotional crumbs and start demanding the entire meal, not from others, but from yourself. You set the tone. But you show the world how to treat you by how you treat yourself when you're alone. You decide what you will and won't accept from love. So what's it going to be? Another round of emotional confusion. Another stretch of weeks wondering what they're thinking, where they stand, why they keep pulling away. Or will you reclaim your time, your power, your soul, and rise? Because rising isn't just about walking away. Sometimes rising is staying, but no longer begging. Sometimes rising is holding space, but never at the cost of your own clarity. Sometimes rising is loving someone from afar while finally deeply loving yourself right here, right now. You don't need their permission to be whole. You don't need their consistency to be calm. You don't need their reassurance to know your own worth. You are the anchor. You are the clarity. You are the storm and the stillness all in one. So take this moment. Take every word they didn't say, every door they almost closed, every silence you try to fill, and let it fuel you. Let it remind you are not here to be chosen. You are here to choose. Choose peace. Choose strength. Choose self-respect. Choose the version of love that doesn't ask you to disappear. And most of all, choose you.